Thomas Spagnola, Senior VP, Cheapoair. Thank you so much, good sir, for joining me and taking the time on the Fact Up podcast today.
Great. Thanks, Jim. Appreciate being here.
Cheapoair, it gives people the chance to save money on flights, hotels, vacations, experiences, and worldwide travel experience that come with the travel. Talk to me about the impact the pandemic has had on the company itself.
Well, there isn't a travel company in the world at this point that hasn't had some type of impact on it. For us, we've looked at where things are more of a strength and a weakness based on what we're seeing throughout the world, based on regions and so forth. We are doing all the right things to take care of our customers. We've seen our incoming calls, triple, quadruple over the past 3 weeks. And one of the things about Cheapoair that we find ourselves unique about is we have such a large call center where people can actually call us to get help. And one of the biggest things that we've heard in the industry is that people can't talk to somebody through some other companies and so forth. So for us, being able to support our mutual customers with our partners and so forth has been a real asset. And I think it is, really going to grow the loyalty of customers over for Cheapoair.
Customer support is huge, and it's welcoming. It's welcoming to hear that from someone so high up in a company that is international. Switching gears though to your frontline workers, your superstars, your customer service agents, 24/7. Describe the work they're doing to answer questions and resolve concerns.
Oh, it's been unprecedented for the amount of calls that have come in, all the extra work, all the flexibility from our agents and our teams that have been able to take on some additional roles where there's been some overflow. A lot of the operations team that have put some logic into place to help expedite refunds and changes and questions regarding all of the canceled flights and how the system is going forward. I cannot say enough about the frontline people. And I think that's what makes Cheapoair so special for us, is that we are accessible for someone to talk to. And I don't think there's ever been a time more in the industry where reaching out to someone was critical.
That's awesome. My question is, how many calls are you getting a day?
Oh, well, it's in the thousands. Right. Monday typically are a little bit higher, but it's a matter of being able to manage the calls as best we can.
Right.
And we're able to drive the certain calls to certain teams, and we are able to make sure that they are getting the support they need. And if there are longer than normal hold times, and I think you'd hear that throughout the industry, we have the ability for a callback option and so forth. So it's we have looked at what is the foundation of the company as of right now, and for Cheapoair, it's been customer service, taking care of these customers that have been loyal to us, bought their tickets. Now we've got a situation in an industry that hasn't happened before. Let's make sure our customers are taken care of. That's where we have to focus right now.
Right, and that leads me to my question. You're dealing with the circumstances, a lot of unpredictability. There's no end as far as like a clear end in sight. How is Cheapoair, coping and adapting to the changing circumstances? And what are you doing to get ready when the industry kind of finally picks up again, when we see that turn?
I can say I think we've adapted very well. I think we're ahead of the curve. There's been a lot of long nights, and we've talked about all the different visions, different ideas, different strategies. Again, the customer service focus has been number one for us. We're now getting into the phase where we are seeing things starting to level off. And where they're, of course, mid-March for the last 3 weeks, has not been fun for anybody. We're starting to see an upward trend. At this point, it's knowledge-based. It's understanding how each airline is adapting to what is going on in the industry based on their core business, the regions they're flying. We have to be very understanding of how Europe is acting different than Latin America as compared to what's going on with Asia. So all of our marketing strategies and all of the different verticals within our business is being addressed. So now that we're starting to see a little upward trend here, we are going to get back to the focus of what Cheapoair has been successful in the past, and we have absolutely no doubt that we will be back to where we were. We're very aggressive about our plans, and we are hopeful come July we will start to see some normality of what's going on in the business.
When you say when you say upward trend, what do you mean? Is it more people are traveling, or more people are booking?
Yeah, we're starting to see more bookings.
Okay.
Um, and it's kind of twofold. It's I think people, the sticker shock of what's gone on is kind of worn off. Uh, the governments have put in, the lockdowns, and now there's these phases of being starting to open up based on regions and so forth. But we have started to see some future bookings that are pretty much going from June and beyond.
Mhm.
There is still a demand for travel. People have missed out on the spring break season. Summer travel, vacations are still annual for a lot of families. And the pricing is as good as we can ever imagine of what's going on as far as price. And price drives demand. People are going to they're going to buy tickets. And there's also now this flexibility that these airlines are offering that if you buy your ticket, you'll be able to change it,
Mhm.
without a fee. And typically, some of the lower fares you can't do that, but the exceptions being made by the airlines are helping customers feel more comfortable about buying tickets.
Right. And Cheapoair has always had affordable rates. You've been doing that for years. If people are now feeling somewhat optimistic about booking and looking towards the future, be it in 3 months, 6 months, a year, what kind of deals are we looking at here, my man?
Oh, well, travel within Canada, East Coast, West Coast, are incredible of what we're seeing for even summer travel. You're starting to see some business that's going to go into Europe already. The transborder, I know Air Canada, WestJet, Transat, Sunwing, and Porter have all pretty much waited it out till the third week of May.
Right.
But even then, from Canada down into the sun destinations, the southern part of the U.S. and down into Mexico, we're starting to see some forward bookings. What we're going to see in domestic Canada, it's getting the confidence of the people back to get on these airplanes. And it's going to come down to the pricing that we'll see probably anywhere 50-60% less of what they were in February at this point. And they're going to be introductory fares, and it's going to get people back in the industry to get positive talk about their experiences, feeling secure, feeling safe about being on airplanes, going through airports, and it's what people want to hear. And as the safety and people feeling, their health is not at risk, is going to continue to grow that trend. And we're starting to see some of the forward bookings going on into Europe. The Caribbean's been doing exceptionally well. They've done a great job about reducing any, about mitigating any of the virus. We're also seeing, of course, we're going to get into the sun destinations down in Mexico as well. So
Hmm. Hmm.
we're seeing trends in a lot of the regions except over in to the Asia area at this point.
So
Yeah.
we're looking, April, May, June. Now this is kind of ramping up the summer holiday season. People are, you mentioned this earlier. They're eager. They want to get out. They haven't been outside in a while, or they haven't been outside their kind of area. What does the travel experience look like in your eyes going forward on the trains, in the hotels, on the planes?
Well, it definitely what the train systems are doing, what the airports are doing, what the airlines are doing is making sure everything is sanitized. And there's a lot of the airlines that are putting out messages about fogging the aircraft after each flight, putting in these HEPA filters that are 99% able to take care of any bacteria or germs and just wiping down the common areas, the lavatories, and armrest and the screens and so forth. TSA, and kind of we're talking about, do they check people's temperatures? So it's a very fluid situation on how the business is going to move forward. But definitely the safety and security of people's health will be on everyone's mind.
Right. I mean, you have airlines now that are blocking out the middle seat. I think the
Yep.
CEO today of Ryanair in
Yep.
Europe, if I'm not mistaken, came out and said,
Yep.
"Look, if you're taking out the middle seat, we're not flying. That's going to cut into the
Right.
profit margins, and it's just not worth it."
Right.
What do you say to something like that?
Uh, I, I think it's a gradual process, and I think it will happen in the short term. There's talk of staggered flights based on your row. The middle seat being blocked. I think the demand is going to be enough to be able to do that to start. I mean, if you look at some of the capacity on some of the flights now, it's not an issue at all. But things will get back to normal at some point.
Hmm.
So I think definitely the next 3 months or so, there'll probably be this staggered seating and taking the middle seat out. Yeah, there's definitely a cost to the airlines to do that, but you've got to start somewhere.
Right.
And if you're, fully not capable of saying, well, if we don't have a middle seat to sell, it's not worth it. I don't I don't think that's a great business decision because you've got to get people traveling again.
Right.
Yeah.
Switching gears here, my man. What does
Sure.
a typical day look like for you? How has this affected you on a personal level?
Well, Cheapoair is near and dear to my heart for many, many years. Um, you know, I look at the silver linings and things, and you look at the dedication of our company, our people, of what we're doing from all aspects from our customers to the marketing to the operations team to, you know, finding if there's a way for technology that we can do things to improve things, more customer awareness on our websites and email confirmations about what is needed prior to traveling, especially for international travel and so forth. It's long days, long nights, but the passion's there,
Right.
and not only from myself, but from everyone in our entire company.
There's been a lot of news and about experiences around the world that have been uplifting, inspirational.
Mhm.
Is there one that sticks out to you? It doesn't have to be travel related by any means, but is there
Yeah.
is there kind of an experience or something that you've seen that has kind of I know this phrase has been used quite a bit,
Sure,
but
sure, sure.
renewed your faith in humanity?
Oh no, absolutely. And things that are going on from a charitable side. We see some of the airlines that are working with these foundations for food banks, donating their time for the medical people, and things that we're doing to be in the community to try to show our support in any way we can. The entire world has to come together at this point, and you can see in communities, and you read stories about people going out of the way to do things that they haven't done before to show that this is a worldwide crisis. It's not just in Canada or in North America. And you hear stories about things that are going on, that people are building face masks and bandanas and they're being shipped overseas to some third world countries and so forth. So it's very inspirational, and I think it's really brought the world together. And ultimately, I think that in the long term is going to be great for the business.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Staying on the personal side, what
Sure.
have you been doing during this time, if you've had time, that you've been putting off for months, years, weeks?
Well, I've cleaned about everything I can clean.
Right?
I've finished all my photo albums. Uh, Done a lot of the things that were on my bucket list, that I've always wanted to do. And, you can get kind of into a daily routine where you can almost start to kind of make excuses about, this or that and so forth. But I've stayed very focused. It's literally been living and breathing the company here for the last 6, 7 weeks.
Hmm.
The only thing I really miss is the gym. You know, so like,
Right. Right.
people, I mean, now that some of these restrictions are being loosened up and you can go to the park now, all the stuff that we took for granted is now just, like, oh, wow, we can go and walk around the park and things like that.
Right.
And
Right.
I think people are so aware of the social distancing that things are going to get better faster than I think is being discussed.
Right.
Yeah.
You mentioned bucket list. If you care to share, if you don't
Sure.
care to share, it's no problem. But I'm curious as to what you've done on your bucket list.
My bucket list is I've always wanted to put together my memoirs of my life, that of growing up and all the things that I have done in the stories, and now passing them on down to my kids. They can add to their stories, and then just generation after generation. So, growing up, you have tons of great stories about the things you did, and I'm now able to put those down and put them into real nice book that I'm putting together for the family and be able to share it. And we're all adding our comments from our family around the world and continuing it on. So that's really been something special for me.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
You also mentioned taking things for granted. What have you been taking for granted that you've now realized because of what's happening?
Yeah. Um, Very active, very outdoors. So, never did, I think wouldn't be going to a gym as long as I have. I love, the physical activity of
Hmm.
being outside and doing things, and you know, just being able now to go and to walk through parks or walk in areas that were complete shutdown at points. And I think things are going to loosen up. So all the stuff that people really didn't, or at least myself, would never question. I'm like, wow, this is great. These
Hmm.
hiking trails are now open, or
Right.
these lakes are open now. So, like, it's great. I think it makes people really appreciate the world and what has happened. And I think that's going to roll over into the travel industry.
I hope so. And it
Oh,
leads me
yeah.
to my next question.
Yeah.
When the time is right for you, where's your next destination? Where are you going?
Oh, I'd like to get down into South America, some places that I haven't been before. Work will be a priority, and I think it's important in business. Yes, there's the Zoom, there's the internets of the world now, and the emails and the Zooms of the world, but I still believe in that personal meeting, sitting down next to someone and being able to have a very good, productive conversation. So business is first on my mind, about working with all of our partners to grow the business, and then being able to go to a few and prices are so cheap everywhere. I mean, it's great.
Hmm.
So
Hmm. Yeah.
what we're seeing is it's a deal.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, of all the places that you've been to, Thomas, where do you feel like your soul lives?
Banff, the
Really,
fishing.
Banff.
I tell you, there's been a few places in the world that I ever could literally just sit down and look around and say, "Wow, this is special." It was as beautiful as can be. The fishing up there was serene, and pretty much anybody that asks me, I'll go with that in a heartbeat.
Right. Well, you didn't hesitate.
No,
You didn't hesitate
no,
when I asked you.
no. I got invited up, and I'll tell you, I begged to stay an extra day, and it was unbelievable. It
Right.
was fantastic.
Yeah, it
Yeah.
is a magical place for sure. I always
Oh
I
yeah.
always like to ask that because it gets to the core of the heart for people where they
Yeah.
can they either reminisce be nostalgic about going back, right?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Right.
Absolutely. Absolutely. It's a fantastic, beautiful area.
Thomas Spagnola, Senior VP, Cheapoair, thank you so much for taking the
You
time today.
got it.
I hope everyone in your world is safe, my friend.
You got it. Thanks, Jim. Go to Cheapoair. We got some great deals for the summer.
Will do for sure. That is believable.
Yeah.
Thank you so much,
You
sir,
got
and
it.
stay safe and all the best.
Thanks, Jim. Take care.